There's a saying, when the devil ignores you, then you know you're doing something wrong. Wait a minute, I'm not done now. You know, the devil goes, oh no, leave him alone. He's my favorite.
So do you think Puffy was involved with the shooting?
Only they can answer that question. Right. I have my own opinion, but I wouldn't slander their name like they did mine. Right. I wouldn't say things that I knew, you know what I mean? I believe so. I do believe so. I have proved things that I could say that will back up my claim, but this is not for the world to know about. You know what I mean?
Killed.
Oh.
Yeah, he was supposed to be he white woman, and they tried to electrocute him, but it didn't work.
It's hard to believe how deep this rabbit hole goes. 1 minute, Denzel Washington is Hollywood's most respected actor, quietly building his legacy, and the next he's dropping bombshells about the music industry's darkest secrets. But what's really shaking people to their core is the list he's allegedly revealed. A list of rappers that Diddy supposedly sacrificed for power, fame, and control. Yeah, you heard that right. We're talking about Tupac, Biggie, and potentially dozens more artists who got too close to the truth or became too much of a threat to the machine. Let's start with the basics. Denzel Washington isn't your typical Hollywood gossip source. This man has built a career on integrity, faith, and speaking truth, even when it's uncomfortable. So, when whispers started circulating that Denzel had inside knowledge about Diddy's alleged sacrifice list, people started paying attention. We're not talking about some random internet conspiracy here. This is coming from one of the most respected figures in entertainment, a man who's been in Hollywood long enough to see how the game really works behind closed doors.
There's a saying, when the devil ignores you, then you know you're doing something wrong. Wait a minute, I'm not done now. You know, the devil goes, oh no, leave him alone. He's my favorite. Don't you bother him.
Yes.
Conversely.
And it all really started to make sense when you look at the pattern. Think about it. How many promising young rappers have died under mysterious circumstances right when they were about to expose industry corruption or break free from their handlers? Tupac was talking about the Illuminati and industry devils before he died. Biggie was allegedly planning to leave Bad Boy Records. The list goes on, and according to sources close to Denzel, it's no coincidence. The kind of revelations that make you look twice at every accidental OD, every heart attack that takes out an artist right when they're about to spill industry secrets. Because if Denzel's list is real, then we're not just talking about bad luck or the dangers of street life. We're talking about systematic elimination of anyone who threatens the power structure that people like Diddy have built their empires on. Now, before we dive into this list that Denzel allegedly revealed, we need to go back to where it all started, because the first name on that list, Tupac Shakur. And here's what's going to blow your mind. Tupac himself tried to warn us about what was coming. See, most people think Tupac died because of some East Coast, West Coast beef, some random street violence. But what if I told you that Tupac knew exactly who was trying to delete him? And he said it on record. What you're about to hear is from Tupac's final interview with Vibe magazine, just months before his death. And what he reveals about the multiple deletion attempts on his life is going to make your blood run cold. Because he doesn't just talk about random enemies. He names names, and the main name he keeps coming back to is Diddy.
So do you think Puffy was involved with the shooting?
Only they can answer that question.
Right.
I have my own opinion, but I wouldn't slander their name like they did mine.
Right.
I wouldn't say things that I knew, you know what I mean? I believe so. I do believe so. I have proved things that I could say that will back up my claim, but this is not for the world to know about. You know what I mean? It's between me and him, and only he knows. So every time he say it didn't happen, or that's the only thing that makes this become an issue to everybody. Because you seen what I said in the Vibe article. I basically bowed out and was going to go ahead about my life. The next issue, that wasn't even the next issue, because them cowards waited about 4 issues before they got their story together. 4 issues later, half of New York is commenting on me getting shot. And before, they was all like, we didn't see nothing. In the first issue, read it, Vibe viewers. Nobody seen shit. The 4th issue, when they came back with a reply, everybody knew what I did. They knew what I said. I was acting. Who gets shot 5 times in acts? Oh, I didn't get shot 5 times in their vision. I only got shot once because they found the bullet. The police found it, but now they the cops. Now they doing detective work. They found the bullet. Oh, you found the bullet, huh? So what is this other shit? What was the doctors talking about? What? Can you explain these other holes in me? How'd I get gunpowder all over me? That insulted my intelligence. So yes, I did say Thug Life was there. Yes, I bowed out, all of that. But when they said that, they breathed new life in me.
Yeah.
And Thug Life not only became a rap group, but it became a way of life for life for me. Because they disrespected me, my name, my family, what I had been through. They said that I couldn't be in pain. I could not feel, I could not be hurt.
Is there still a beef going on with you and Biggie?
It was never a beef. It's only a difference in opinion.
Right.
To me, if I like my homeboy Suge gave me the best advice I could ever give from anybody. He said when people ask him if he's beefing with Bad Boy with Puffy, he says like me going to a playground and picking on a little kid.
Right.
That's like me being mad at my little brother because he getting cash now. I'm not mad at that. I'm just mad at my little brother when he don't respect me.
Yeah.
Now when you don't respect me, I'm gonna spank your ass. I don't give a you got on the block. I'm your big brother.
Did you catch that? Tupac just admitted there were several attempts on his life, and he believed every single one was orchestrated by Diddy. This wasn't some paranoid rant from a stressed out rapper. This was a man who connected the dots and realized he was being systematically hunted. And the most chilling part? He said he had proof, but he wasn't ready to share it with the world yet. What Tupac understood that most people missed is that this wasn't about music or street credibility. This was about power, control, and elimination of threats. Diddy couldn't compete with Tupac's raw talent and authentic connection to the streets. So instead of trying to out-rap him, he allegedly decided to eliminate him entirely. And recent court documents show that Diddy was named 47 times in the M suspect's secret police interview. The same suspect who confessed that Diddy said he'd give anything for Tupac and Suge Knight's heads in front of 45 witnesses. But Tupac's death was just the beginning, because once Diddy allegedly got rid of his biggest threat, he set his sights on the next name on the list, and that person's reaction to Tupac's elimination tells us everything we need to know about what was really happening. The second name on Denzel's alleged list wasn't just another victim. He was Diddy's own artist, his supposed best friend, the man who helped build Bad Boy Records into an empire. We're talking about the notorious B.I.G. See, most people think Biggie and Tupac were enemies, that their beef was real and personal. But what if I told you that Biggie was just as shocked by Tupac's death as the rest of us? What if the man who was supposed to be celebrating his rival's downfall was actually terrified because he realized he might be next?
His mum said he was really upset by Tupac's death.
I was more shocked than anything, you know what I'm saying? But I wasn't more shocked of him dying. I was more shocked of him. Pac is a strong dude, yo. I know Duke, you know what I'm saying? Right. He's real strong. So when they was like, he got shot, I was just more like, again? You know what I'm saying? He always getting shot or shot at. He gonna pull through this one again, make a few records about it, and it's gonna be over, you know what I'm saying? But when he died, I was just like, whoa. You know what I'm saying? It kind of took me by. I mean, even though we was going through our drama, I would never wish death on nobody, you know what I'm saying? Because ain't no coming back from that. So it kind of turned me down a little bit. But at the same time, you know, you got to move on. You know, I felt for his moms, for his family or whatever, but, you know.
That's not the face of someone celebrating an enemy's death. That's the face of a man who just realized he's been played. Biggie understood in that moment that Tupac's elimination wasn't about East Coast versus West Coast. It wasn't about some random street beef. This was systematic elimination. And if Diddy could orchestrate Tupac's death, then nobody was safe. Not even his own artists. What's really chilling is that Biggie probably started connecting the dots right then and there. He knew Diddy better than anyone, knew how his mind worked, knew his obsession with power and control. And when he saw Tupac, the most talented rapper of their generation, get eliminated, he realized that talent wasn't protection. In fact, it was a target on your back. Biggie was probably the only person who could have exposed what really happened to Tupac, because he had inside access to Diddy's operation. He knew the players, he knew the motives, he knew how the machine worked, and that knowledge is exactly what made him the next name on the list. Now, legal experts are connecting dots that most people missed, and what they're revealing about Tupac's elimination is going to change everything you thought you knew about Diddy's rise to power. Because according to these analysts, eliminating Tupac wasn't just personal revenge, it was the foundation stone of Diddy's entire criminal empire. Think about it logically. Before Tupac's death, Diddy was just another record executive trying to compete with Death Row Records and Suge Knight's dominance. But after Tupac was eliminated, everything changed. The West Coast lost its biggest star, Death Row crumbled, and suddenly Bad Boy Records became the undisputed king of hip-hop. Wasn't just about personal beef, it was the foundation stone of Diddy's entire criminal enterprise.
Good God. Oh my God.
And that's in evidence now. And you wouldn't introduce that into evidence unless this is going to be part of your argument, unless this is going to be part of your case. So it's looking like this is going to be part of the story. That, yeah, was Keefe D involved? Did he pull the trigger? No. Did he order the hit? No. Was he doing a job that he was hired for? Yes. And they look at that differently sometimes. He's fighting for his freedom, if he'll ever have any anymore, which is highly unlikely. But he's going to try. I would. I think anybody would.
Yeah.
How will it pay off? That's yet to be seen, but it certainly introduces the name Diddy into the trial of Tupac Shakur.
Tupac's elimination created a domino effect that made Diddy's empire possible. Without Tupac in the picture, there was no real competition for Bad Boy Records. The entire landscape shifted, and Diddy went from being a player to being the kingpin overnight. What's really chilling is how this connects to Diddy's current racketeering case. Federal prosecutors are looking at a pattern of criminal enterprise that spans decades, and Tupac's elimination fits perfectly into that timeline. This wasn't just a random act of violence. It was the first move in a systematic takeover of the hip-hop industry. If the experts are right, then every success Diddy achieved after 1996 was built on Tupac's blood. And that realization is exactly what drove Diddy to keep eliminating threats. Because once you cross that line, there's no going back. According to sources close to the situation, Diddy's alleged criminal enterprise wasn't just about money or power. It was about feeding a massive inferiority complex that consumed him. Picture this: you're Sean Combs, trying to build your empire. But no matter what you do, you can't match the raw talent and authentic street connection that Tupac and Biggie possess naturally. Your artists are successful, but they're not cultural icons. They don't move crowds the way Pac moved crowds. They don't have that spiritual connection with the streets.
Theoretically, let's say none of this happened. There's no charges against Diddy. We're back about a year ago before charges were made. Hell, let's take it back 10 years before anything, most of this ever really came to public light. Let's say Diddy got shot 10 years ago and died. I don't think we'd be seeing Diddy memorials on the sides of buildings and t-shirts and anything and everything you see today from Notorious B.I.G. or Tupac that are still flaunted around today as, you know, these are really powerful black men who have made some amazing music and really had an influence on the culture. I just don't think that there is that passion behind Diddy, and I think that's where I think a jury pool honestly is not going to be that hard to find that will be unbiased, even if they do like his music. I don't know. That's just kind of, he doesn't have that emotional raw connection with the audience, which is also why I think he always had to feel like the only way I'm going to get this what I want with all this money that I have is I have to pay I have to drug people. I have to have other people drug people and bring people in and basically kidnap them to keep them with me. I don't think that wasn't Biggie, that wasn't Tupac, that wasn't most people. But I think Diddy was always kind of the outcast, kind of the odd duck kid, and I think he still lived that insecurity throughout his life to a very extreme extent, which let him swing the pendulum the other way to make him go so extreme to the other side, but at the end of the day, still very empty.
Diddy couldn't handle being second best. His ego was so fragile that instead of accepting his role as a businessman, he allegedly decided to eliminate the competition entirely. But here's what makes this even more twisted. Tupac saw right through Diddy's game. He understood exactly how the industry was protecting Diddy while painting him as the villain. That this wasn't just about music. It was about ego, control, and systematic character A. And that awareness is exactly what made him too dangerous to live. What if I told you that both Tupac and Biggie were planning their escape from the very system that allegedly eliminated them? According to explosive revelations from Kim Porter's alleged memoir, both legends were secretly working on something that would have changed hip-hop forever, and it's exactly what sealed their fate. The two biggest names in rap, supposedly bitter enemies, were actually planning to join forces and start their own independent label. They wanted out of the toxic industry machine that was controlling their every move, exploiting their talent, and keeping them trapped in contracts that benefited everyone except the artists themselves.
I mean, the rumors in the rap industry for ages has been that Diddy killed Tupac, that he put out the first hit on Tupac, that Tupac survived. This book alleges that when Tupac got shot the first time, and he was trying to escape the studio, and he's all shot up and full of bullet holes, and he gets in the elevator and presses down, that it, like, fatefully, the elevator went down, and Diddy was in the building too, trying to go up, and that the elevator stopped and opened in front of Diddy, and Diddy saw Tupac there on the ground, just covered in bullet holes, bleeding out, and just stood there and was like, damn. Didn't call ambulance or anything, and then Tupac made it to the ground floor and got out. At that point, Diddy didn't want to, like, give off that he had just called this hit. But then it also alleges that, and it alleges that this was, like, common knowledge, that people were all gossiping about it, and everyone was talking about it, and that Tupac's fiance, who was the daughter of Quincy Jones, a super powerful record executive at the time, that she knew, and she confronted Tupac at the table at one of the awards shows one of these years, made a big show of it, and the whole room was, like, gossiping about it. And then that he also put out the second hit that got Tupac eventually.
So this is the song Who Shot Ya? Who Shot Ya? Separate the wheat from the...
No, so that's Biggie. And this book again alleges that this was once, like, Tupac and Biggie were talking about leaving and going and forming their own label. And this book alleges that Sean Carter, Jay-Z, brought that intel to Diddy, and that Kim Porter was at the table when Jay-Z, a young Jay-Z, like when Jay-Z was still just a kid, basically, and he was living in Biggie's shadow. And this book alleges that Kim Porter was there for the conversation when Jay-Z came to Diddy and basically, like, ratted them out and basically said, like, I want Biggie's spot. Like, I'm done living in his shadow. I've got ambitions. Like, I want his spot. And so it basically alleges that Diddy and Jay-Z kind of together got the intel on Pac and Biggie leaving and trying to do their own thing. And it alleges that basically led to the hit on Biggie. And it says that Kim was also there at this, like, morning after one of these when Diddy handed a big bag of cash to a dude and said basically, like, I can't protect a guy that's not going to be with my label. Like, I can't protect him if he's leaving. Like, it would be a shame if something happened to him. And that then Biggie gets shot when he goes to California. And then I was just reading this conversation where Biggie's mom comes to Diddy later on and is like, hey, times are really tight. Is there any way you can give me some of that money that my son made?
This wasn't just about money or creative control. This was about breaking free from the puppet masters who were pulling their strings. And that intelligence, that plan for independence, was the pivot point that led to their alleged untimely deaths. Once Diddy allegedly realized they were planning their escape, he knew he had a limited window to act. Because once they went independent and started exposing how the industry really worked, his entire empire would crumble. The most heartbreaking part of this entire conspiracy comes from the one person who knew Biggie better than anyone, his own mother. Valletta Wallace trusted Diddy, believing he genuinely cared about her son's career and well-being. But what happened after Biggie's death opened her eyes to a truth so devastating that it changed everything she thought she knew about the man who claimed to be her son's mentor.
Hey, times are really tight. Is there any way you can give me some of that money that my son made? And that Diddy basically just, like, stonewalls her and is like, I don't know, the lawyers are working through it. Like, I don't know if we can like get you any money. Like, he might have owed me money. Like, we're figuring it out. Like, maybe I can give you like $100 out of my wallet. And then she's just like, that's some bull. And it escalates. And then I just underlined the sentence where apparently, allegedly, Biggie's mom said to Diddy, did you kill my son? She's just like straight up, like, did you my son? And then he's just like, no, like I would never. And she's like, leaves. And it's like,
that makes
holy
perfect because
it makes perfect sense.
Jay-Z was the other Brooklyn rapper, was in a shadow. They made some songs together, Brooklyn's Finest, and he wants to go and dominate the industry. He wants to get rid of that, the big imposing figure that's creating the shadow. Yep. Diddy wants to. There's a lot of pictures.
Alleges they were all gay together. That it introduced them as the Sean Carter and Sean Combs, right? And that they had been before this even came up, and that basically it really clearly paints the picture of why Jay-Z became who he became, because basically Jay-Z was born out of the vacuum of Biggie and Pac being gone. Right?
Yeah.
And then Jay-Z rose to be like the king of hip hop after that.
Valletta Wallace just revealed the moment she realized Diddy had blood on his hands. After her son's demise, when she was at her most vulnerable, Diddy scammed her out of money that rightfully belonged to Biggie's estate. But this wasn't just about greed. This was about covering his tracks, making sure Biggie's family stayed dependent on him and never asked too many questions. What's really sick is the timing. Diddy waited until Biggie was dead, until his mother was grieving and desperate. Then he exploited her trust to steal from her. That's not the behavior of someone mourning a friend. That's the behavior of someone cleaning up after a crime. Valletta realized that if Diddy could steal from her while she was grieving her deleted son, then he was capable of anything, including orchestrating that first place. And that realization led her to start asking the questions that Diddy never wanted answered. The most damning evidence in this entire conspiracy comes from people who were actually in the room when it happened. We're talking about insiders who witnessed the financial transaction that allegedly sealed Tupac's fate, and what they revealed is going to make your blood run cold. Because this isn't speculation or theory. This is eyewitness testimony about the check that was written for Tupac's life. Sources close to Diddy's inner circle have come forward with information that connects the dots between Tupac's elimination and Biggie's subsequent death in a way that's impossible to ignore. These aren't random street rumors or internet conspiracies. These are people who had direct access to Diddy's operation and saw the money change hands.
Gene Deal, that works for Diddy, that says that he saw a check that a guy named Eric Von Zip had, and he told him that the check was for the murder of Tupac Shakur. Now, there's a YouTuber by the name of Doggy Diamonds. Gene Deal tells Doggy Diamonds, yo, you saw the check for Biggie's life? And he corrects me, said, no, I saw the check for Pac's life. Eric Von Zip had a check in his right back pocket, and he said it came from Black Ground Records, right? Well, Jimmy Henchman was working with Black Ground Records. So if you tie the Tupac shooting at Quad Studio and you go all the way to the end of it, if there was a check, allegedly, if this was true and Diddy did pay for the hit on Tupac and Suge Knight, and that check came from Black Ground Records, it leads right back to the Quad Studios shooting where when Tupac got shot, Diddy was in the studio with Jimmy Henchman. But they don't tell that story. They make it look like Diddy was in the studio with Biggie. No, Biggie had went behind Diddy's back and got a deal with Atlantic Records and was having a secret meeting, having a secret recording session for the first Junior Mafia album. They was recording their first song. Diddy found out that Biggie was having a session. He came to Quad. He was getting ready to bust in on Biggie, but the shooting with Tupac deferred the plan. But Diddy was going to bust in on Biggie to find out that he had a whole nother deal. He was in there recording. So to make a long story short, Diddy and or Sean Combs and Notorious Big, Christopher Wallace had a publishing deal together. With that publishing deal, Notorious B.I.G. is to write songs and Diddy gets a portion of the money. What Biggie did, which was wrong, is he went and wrote all the stuff for Lil' Kim and Junior Mafia and lied to Diddy and told him that they wrote their own stuff. So back the day before Biggie died, Gene Deal tells the story of how he was smoking weed with Biggie and he was security. He was not supposed to be smoking. Biggie told Diddy that we need more security because Gene was high. So Gene in return tells Diddy, hey man, Biggie, he wrote all the Lil' Kim stuff and Junior Mafia. Big and Diddy jumps in Biggie's face, say it, you wrote it, say it. And Big is like, oh man, come on Diddy, right? The next day, Biggie was dead.
The sources just confirmed what investigators have suspected for decades. There was a direct financial transaction for Tupac's deletion, and once that line was crossed, Biggie's death became inevitable. This wasn't two separate incidents. This was a coordinated elimination plan that removed both of Diddy's biggest threats in one calculated move. What's really chilling is the timeline. The sources are saying they saw the check for Tupac's life, and then Biggie was dead shortly after. That's not coincidence. That's cause and effect. Once Diddy allegedly proved he was willing to eliminate Tupac, Biggie became a liability because he knew too much, had seen too much, and represented too much of a threat to the empire built on his friend's blood. According to the streets, Tupac had discovered information about Diddy's alleged exploitation of young artists that went far beyond just business manipulation. We're talking about greedy behavior involving M's in the industry. Think about this. Tupac wasn't just a rapper. He was a truth teller who couldn't stay quiet when he saw injustice. And if he had knowledge about what was allegedly happening to young artists like Usher and Justin Bieber when they were just children, that information would have destroyed Diddy's empire and sent him to prison decades earlier than what's happening now.
And the latest theory to gain traction online claims that Tupac knew something about Diddy's alleged inappropriate behavior around young male artists. As you probably know, disturbing rumors recently started spreading online, claiming that Diddy allegedly did some questionable things to his young music proteges, Usher and Justin Bieber. And now an interview with Tupac's label boss, Suge Knight, resurfaced, in which Suge seemingly hinted that Pac wanted to expose Diddy's inappropriate behavior. These stories about Diddy have been circulating for a long time, and Jaguar Wright recently claimed that a former bad boy lawyer told her she once walked in on Diddy and R&B singer Christopher Williams.
She witnessed something. She witnessed something that was disturbing to her. But what was really disturbing to her was the conversation that she had with Diddy after. See, Christopher Williams, I don't know, I guess he wanted to sign. I don't know what happened. But Puff was supposed to be giving him a demo deal, and he gave him a demo deal, and I guess it was supposed to turn into an album deal, which that never happened. But this young woman walked in to get approval on some paperwork. See. And when she walked in, the door wasn't locked, so she didn't think twice about just walking in. And when she walked in, she saw Christopher Williams performing fellatio on Puff.
Jaguar also hinted that this is all about power and control, and Diddy allegedly enjoys making straight men do whatever he asks them to.
He said, I'll do whatever I want to do in my building. And I just don't know. He was like, it's power, see. I can make a man, he said, if I can make a man suck my, I can make people do anything for money. That's what you said, Puff, about Christopher Williams sucking it for a demo deal, and you cut him a check.
What's really chilling is the timeline. If Tupac was planning to expose this information, then his deletion wasn't just about ego or business rivalry, it was about preventing a scandal that would have brought down the entire industry power structure. And that level of desperation explains why Diddy allegedly paid such a high price to have him eliminated. This means Tupac died trying to protect children in the industry, and his silence was bought with his blood. But the truth has a way of surfacing, and decades later, we're finally hearing from the person who allegedly pulled the trigger. After decades of speculation, theories, and unanswered questions, we finally have the Smoking G, that connects all the dots. The person who allegedly pulled the trigger has come forward with a confession that's going to shake the hip-hop world to its core. Because this isn't just another street rumor or conspiracy theory, this is direct testimony from the man who claims Diddy paid him to eliminate Tupac Shakur. Keith D, the alleged triggerman in Tupac's deletion, has given investigators a detailed account of exactly how the hit was orchestrated and who paid for it. And what he's revealed confirms everything that Denzel Washington's alleged list suggested, that Diddy was systematically eliminating threats to build his empire on the bodies of hip-hop legends.
On all four of those occasions, there's San Diego, Anaheim, Irvine, and Vegas. Which ones do you actually talk to Puffy at?
Every one.
Every one of them. Which of those four is it when you talk to him about murdering Tupac?
It was really about both of them. Either one. It was
Tupac and Suge, you mean?
Yeah, Anaheim.
After a concert in Anaheim, Keefe D claims that he attended a party. $1 million.
Yeah. Them project dudes will kill your ass for $1,500. You know what I'm saying? Shit.
And when you connect this confession to everything else we've uncovered, Biggie's shock, the expert analysis, the escape plans, the exploitation of minors, the picture becomes crystal clear. Denzel Washington's alleged revelation about Diddy's sacrifice list isn't just Hollywood gossip. It's a roadmap to understanding how the music industry's biggest empire was built on systematic elimination of anyone who threatened the power structure. Tupac died because he knew too much and couldn't be controlled. Biggie died because he witnessed too much and represented too much of a threat. And how many others on that list met similar fates for similar reasons? This pattern of elimination didn't stop with Tupac and Biggie. According to sources, there are dozens more names on that list. Artists who got too close to the truth, who tried to break free from the system, or who simply became too powerful for their handlers to control. And now, with Diddy finally facing federal charges, we might finally get answers about all of them. The question isn't whether Diddy is guilty. The evidence is overwhelming. The question is, how many more victims are we going to discover? And how deep does this conspiracy really go? Because if Denzel Washington is right, then what we've uncovered so far is just the tip of the iceberg. If you like this video, hit that subscribe button so that you never miss out on any new videos. And until then, fam, keep it real.